Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. As we get settled here, just feel free to get comfy yourself. You need to go grab a beverage or a cozy blanket. As long as you don't fall asleep, although we won't judge here if that happens. Hey Melanie, good to see everyone. Feel free to put in the chat, what you've been enjoying so far about the summit. What has been some great highlights or things you've enjoyed about the experience of being part of the summit, or what you're looking forward to, how you're feeling today. Just anything you want to share. Feel free to pop it in the chat. We'll just take a moment to let people continue to get settled in here. Hey, Barbara. See everyone who's popping in here. Leanne, Matt, Lenny, Marlene, Daisha, Kathy, Jessica, Lynn, Anna, couple Anna. Good to see everyone. Yeah, Melanie, sometimes while you might, love your children, sometimes it's nice to have a little breather to yourself. Some adult time, other adults, whatever we're chatting about. Okay, well, let's just jump in and get started. I'll share a little bit about myself, and I'll also introduce a couple of archangels that are going to be with us today when we do a meditation. And then we'll jump into today's topic, which is all about living authentically and being your authentic self. So, some of you know me, other of you brand new. Maybe some of you have seen my face here and there, but really don't know much about me. I'm Sam. My pronouns are she and they, and I'm an intuitive life coach, and I'm also a marriage and family therapist. So, I'll give you a little bit of background about how I ended up doing what I'm doing now, and how that relates to this topic, because being my authentic self has been something that has been a challenge, but also has really been a journey that I've been on, especially in the last few years, and kind of ties into how I became an intuitive life coach. So growing up, my mom always kind of said I had like a sixth sense about people. Like I would just maybe kind of understand things about people that I couldn't quite put into words. I realized like looking back, like I had intuitive gifts when I was younger, but I just like didn't understand them, and I just kind of felt maybe a little bit different. And I would label myself as an empath. Again, I didn't know that when I was younger, but understand that now. And I imagine some of you are probably thinking about your own maybe childhood things that you look back now and you're like, oh, I had that intuitive gift or that thing about me that I didn't understand and made me feel different, right? That we don't understand when we're kids. And so I ended up going to the field of psychology because I loved helping people. And again, I just felt like this connection with people, kind of understood relationships. And I became a marriage family therapist, but I felt like something was missing. Like I really loved working with people and I wanted to make a difference, but it just was like I couldn't figure out how I wanted that to happen and how I wanted that to look like. And then a few years ago, I lost someone close to me. I ended up going through my own soul awakening journey. Basically, I was like going through, I didn't realize I was like in the dark in life, and then like someone turned on the light, like the angels and guides turned on the light for me, and I was like, it is blinding. It's a little bit painful, and I'm seeing things in dark corners of the room that I have run from for a while, but now it's being illuminated. And so that journey kind of really changed things around. And I'm wondering if anyone has had that experience, that like soul awakening experience, or they're experiencing that now, where they're like starting to awaken to things about their life and about spirituality that they didn't before. Has anyone had that experience? Know what I'm talking about? Maybe that's why you're here. Um, yeah. So when I had that experience, I was going around looking for like, how do I understand what's happening to me in my spirituality? And that's where I found Amber and did an Akashic record reading with her. And those of you that maybe don't know the Akashic records, that's the energetic database of your soul's records across the different lives that it's lived. And it was like spot on in the session because I wasn't yet ready to like have someone see my authentic self. I was like, oh, I mean, maybe those things are kind of true about me, but like maybe not. And then I got done with the session and I was like, Amber totally called me out, and that was like a little uncomfy, but like it was so validating at the same time. Like I felt so seen. And then I decided to take a leap of faith and join her academy, Akashic Record and Angel Healing Academy. And that was 6 months. And it was like years of therapy within 6 months, basically. Like I had done some of my own work, but this was different. And I found it really validating and healing. And then I decided like that's the work that I wanted to do. I wanted to work with the angels and the Akashic records and bring that into coaching, take my background as a therapist and blend them all together. Some people work with me, they're not just working with me, they're working with a whole career team. Just checking in the chat. And yes, I think I am coming back into things now. Yes. And Melanie, 100%. I always say Amber helped me more than my therapist did. Yeah, there's when you go to therapy, it's often like what you know about yourself, you bring into the space. Like the therapist might know some things, but it's different when you work with the angels and guides and the Akashic records because they know on a whole different level than you know sometimes about yourself or the person who's reading you knows. And that can be a beautiful thing. That also could be a little bit of a scary thing, right? Like you can't hide if you're used to hiding. Yeah, it can be really powerful. Yeah, thanks, Amber. Saying so happy you have the courage to step into your gifts and share them with others. It's been a wild ride, but really, really um, exciting. And part of the journey was really embracing my authentic self, like also in my intuitive gifts, right? Like I'd come out of the closet and my sexuality, my gender, and then I had to come out of the spiritual closet and like start sharing with people that like, I work with angels and guides and like I didn't know how they were going to respond. And so it's communities like these with all of you that has been really helpful just to not feel alone and to not feel like maybe I'm too weird, right? Having the experience growing up of feeling othered, it's just great to have like a place where you feel like you belong. Um, yeah. And so that's kind of my story. And let me see, Jessica just added in the chat. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, so interesting to hear as an LMFT. Um, yeah, I'm glad that I've helped you out kind of in that journey too. And so just wondering, I'm curious if there's anyone that wants to share, like raise their hand if you're a therapist, coach, healer, like in some ways, a massage therapist, like helping other people. Is anyone else here that like an Akashic reader, right? Anyone who's in the academy should probably be raising their hand. Barbara, you just did an amazing theta healing yesterday, right? Like helping others come in so many different forms. But to help others, we also need to help ourselves and know who we are, right? So we know who our audience is that we're serving. And those are usually people that resonate with our story and really connect with what we're saying. So today we're going to get into what does it mean to live authentically? Because we can throw words around like authentic self and living authentically, but like, what does that actually mean? And what does that mean to you? And then we'll get into things that hold people back. And then we'll go into a meditation where you'll spend some time with Archangel Uriel and Gabriel, and they'll kind of help you just uncover some things that might be holding you back and then give you a chance to see what it's like to view yourself from their eyes, from their perspective, from a divine place, from true unconditional love, and what that would mean in terms of being your authentic self, what that would be like. And then we'll wrap up with just some sharing from that experience and be on our way for the rest of the day. So I'll do a brief introduction of the archangels that we're going to be hanging out with because they're just as important as me and all of you being here. So Archangel Uriel is known as the angel of wisdom and illumination. Uriel gently helps us uncover hidden fears, beliefs, patterns that may be holding us back, and helps us bring clarity and deeper understanding. So, with the help of Uriel, we can kind of explore these parts of ourselves that we can do so in like a safe and supportive way. And then Archangel Gabriel is the angel of communication and authenticity. And Gabriel helps us connect with our true selves and kind of envision what we would be like at our core, at our essence. And with Gabriel's help, we can kind of bring about more clarity, creativity, self expression, and see, get a window into who we really are and embrace our true selves. So we're going to be hanging out with the two of them today. Has anyone worked with either of these angels? Raise your hand or put in the chat which one maybe you really enjoy working with or worked with before. Yeah, we have a few people who worked with them. If you haven't, like, welcome. They're excited for you to be here and kind of explore their energy today. So let's start with, what does it actually mean to live authentically? What does it mean to embrace your true self? And so you can come off mute or put in the chat, like, what would that actually mean to you?
Hi,
Give you time to. Oh yeah,
it's Jane.
Jane. Hey,
Hi.
yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, I think of as like an animal, almost instinct,
Mm,
not brutal or some of the things that, but living instinctively, intuitively, a
mm,
lot. Yeah, just
yeah.
taking us to kind of that base, our
Hmm.
animal selves, not in a negative or base, but in a positive light, just following your instinct, following your gut.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes me think of, like, when we think of kids, just kind of, they're going by their instincts and they have great intuition, and then, the world comes at us and gives us all these messages and conditioning, and we kind of lose that. So I like what you're talking about, that kind of return to who we are at our core, our intuition, because we all are intuitive and we have great instincts. But oftentimes we've been disconnected from those instincts and those intuition over time. So yeah, that's a great example of living authentically. Let me see what we have in the chat here. We got a lot of great stuff. Barbara saying, be true to myself, live by my values. Yes, absolutely. And that can be hard, right? Like, when living true to ourselves and our values, especially when other people might disagree. Leanne saying freedom. Matt being loud and proud. Yeah. Just wondering how people feel when I say that, like, being loud and proud. And I'll even add bold to that. Like, how does that feel in your body, just naming that? There might be a whole mix of feelings. Living authentically, Melanie saying, living authentically to me is just following what feels right, following my joy and not caring what others think. Oof. Does anyone else struggle with caring about what other people think? I mean, right? I think that is to be human. And so that is definitely a challenge of, how do we, going back to like the values, like, how do we stay true to ourselves when other people are gonna share their opinions, for sure. Paula saying, be able to be fearless, fearlessly be, say, and do what I am. Ooh, that fear, right? Like, fear can hold us back so much. Um, yeah, it's powerful. Barbara.
I just wanted to say that my greatest teacher is my daughter. She's loud, she's proud, she's messy, and when I watch her, it's like this is exactly what it means. Like she's a chatterbox, she doesn't care, and she's just happy with herself. And it's just seeing that purity and just being content with the way she is, regardless. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's for me authenticity. Like she's
Yeah,
teaching me so much every day.
yeah. I love that. Like, we often think that, like, as kids learn from adults, but we definitely can learn from children, from people of all ages. So that's great, Barbara, that you're able to learn from your daughter and kind of learn through that boldness, especially that kids have. And it's interesting, like, I've noticed, because I've worked with so many people in my career, and then also in my personal life, obviously I have relationships, and I've noticed that people who tend to be like that, like, um, just themselves, and almost like they can't help it. It's not that they don't have fears. It's not that they don't get embarrassed, um, or have anxiety, but there's something about them that they still are themselves anyways, right? And that's a gift. Some people, like, can't help it, and other people really want that, right? Like, we want to feel like we can still be ourselves and we don't get lost in what everyone else thinks of us. Some other great things in the chat. And I think there has to be trust in self. Yeah, self-trust. Um, Sometimes oftentimes what I've seen is, like, as we go through hard stuff, or people invalidate us or tell us how we should feel or who we should be, we lose. trust in ourselves. We start to doubt ourselves. And then we doubt, like, what do we want, who we are. Has anyone struggled with that? Self-trust, self-doubt? Yeah, that's really common. Amber, look past at all the things others have told me I am or what I just have assumed and really dig deep into all the facets of myself. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to tease that out, right? Of like what other people have told us about ourselves or what we think we should be and who we actually are. Like that can get really muddied, especially when other people can be really loud about who they think that we are. Um, let's see, when living with all the emotions, energy, moods, and listening to my intuition and flowing in life with all that, regardless of what others might think or believe. Yeah, so like that emotions, energy, moods, and listening to my intuition. Right? That's almost like sometimes a soft whisper. Knowing that I should not second guess self, be okay being alone, but never alone truly, right? So like we go back to the idea that archangels are with us right now. We have so much help from the spirit realm. So even if we're like physically alone in a space, like we're never actually alone. And you know, how many people struggle with being alone or feeling lonely at times? Like that's such a human experience. We really want connection, and sometimes we can even sacrifice parts of ourselves, right, to keep relationships because it's hard to not feel connected or to feel like we don't fit in. Yeah, so these are all great examples of what it means to live authentically. The biggest thing is what it means to you, because when we're talking about authentic self, it's really about who you decide that you are, who you really are, not what everyone else says. And that can be really difficult to get back to that place. So I'm curious what gets in the way for people. And during the meditation, there'll be time for you to, think through or to have it come up in an intuitive message of what gets in the way specifically for you. But let's just name some things, whether it's something that you really struggle with or you've noticed other people struggle with, like what gets in the way of being our true selves? All the things that we just named, what gets in the way of that? And again, you can put in the chat, you can come off mute. Fear of judgment, fear of being seen. Yes, perfectionism, expectations. I feel like y'all are naming my fears. It's like you can see me right now. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, feeling unworthy. Yeah, these are so common. Especially, fear of being seen. It's interesting, like as people, I feel like we want to be seen. Like there's such a deep desire to be seen as our authentic selves because that's when we feel really known and that's when we feel really connected and loved. But yet that's also so scary, right? Because then the other stuff of like, am I going to be judged? Am I going to be rejected? All that comes up. Fear that I'm not good enough, not fully accepting parts of yourself. Yeah, it's so common to have parts of ourselves that we feel shame about or that we hide, masks that we wear, maybe in different situations or all the time. Um, I'm just thinking about how draining that can be. Like, has anyone ever experienced that? Just how tiring it is to like wear a mask or to hide parts of yourself? Yeah. Carrying that shame around, that can be so heavy. And so, what do you think it would be? Again, you can come off mute or put in the chat. What do you think it would be if you could be your full authentic self? Like, what do you think that would feel like? Freedom? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Paul is also saying free. Like, I can actually breathe, Amber. Yeah, for sure. Lynn saying peaceful, Anna saying connection to all. hmm These are all some top things that I've experienced. I've also heard from other people. Like, oh, I can finally take a deep breath and like I don't have to try so hard. Like I'm not having to put on a performance. Like I can just be myself and that gets to be okay. And it makes me think of self-acceptance, right? If we can accept ourselves and love ourselves, it's so much easier to just like show up as we are. Jessica, you're saying lighter. Amber added unconditional love. Yeah, absolutely. There's almost like all of these weights. Like when I'm reading all of what you just said, it's like weights are being lifted. right? So think about when we go back to all the things that get in the way of it. There's such a burden or a heaviness there. And so, yeah, lighter and freedom. So, who's excited to see what it's like to be your authentic self? Who wants to experience that? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, Amber's like me. Melanie, it is weird that I'm more concerned about, is it weird that I'm more concerned about what people think of what I look like and not really about what I think and feel? Because I'll tell someone my opinion with no problem, but don't have my camera on because I'm a mess. I think like it goes in so many different ways. So many people are, worried more about the appearance. Other people are worried about how they behave. Other people are most worried about how they show up emotionally. So it's definitely not weird to be more concerned about specific things. Um, and Melly, this is a great example of like showing up authentically. Like your camera might not be on, but you're naming like this is why my camera isn't on, and this is who I am in this moment, right? It's vulnerability. That's what like being our authentic self is. It's vulnerability, and that's scary, but um, that can be so freeing. And I imagine there's at least one person here that at least resonated with what you just said, right? Has there been people who haven't shown up on camera because you're like, no, I don't want anyone to see what's happening right now, right? Yeah, absolutely. Mhm. Okay. So let's jump into the meditation. Before we, get into that, um, we're going to be using some of those intuitive stuff that Amber talked about in the first session. If you didn't attend the first session or you didn't watch it, don't worry about it. I'm just going to briefly kind of review the four different clairs. Um, so as we're going through this meditation, I'm just going to have you try to kind of tap into these different clairs just to see what naturally comes up. Um, and so one of the clairs is clairvoyance, clear seeing. So maybe you see images in your mind. Some people, when we walk through meditation, are very visual and they can imagine it, like we're on the beach or we're in the woods. And that can feel like your imagination happening. And that can be very easy for some people, and that some people never visualize anything, so don't worry if you really struggle with either any of these clairs. Another one is clairaudience, which is clear hearing. So during the meditation, maybe there's some words or phrases or even a song that pops up just to give you some information about what's going on. And the angels might give you information in those ways. Clear sentience, which is clear feeling. So maybe you have a sense of like an emotion shows up. Maybe it's more of like I feel warm or I feel lighter or I feel um, burdened or I feel like the space that I'm in feels bright or airy, right? We can get a sense of maybe how something feels. And then there's clear cognizance, which is this clear knowing. Maybe you just kind of know information. Like you can't really explain why you know that the room feels a certain way or an angel is giving you some information, but you just kind of have a sense that that's what they're telling you. So I just encourage you to go with wherever it goes, so don't worry about if you're doing it perfectly. If you're giving it a shot, you're doing it perfectly. And so um and if you feel like you're making it up, just keep going with it. Just keep rolling with it. You'd be surprised at what information comes up. Any information is helpful information. All right. So let's jump into this. And feel free to get settled, get situated, get cozy. If you fall asleep, not a big deal. I'll try to be loud at the end to wake you up. But get comfortable. If you want to lay down, you can. I often recommend sitting up just because it helps you kind of stay awake. But if you want to turn your camera off, that feels helpful for you to tune in. Great. If you want to leave your camera on, that's great too. So as we get situated and comfortable here, I want you, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. If that doesn't feel safe or comfortable, keep your eyes open, but just maybe have like a soft gaze downward. Just help you go inward and tune in. And so we'll just start with taking some deep breaths. We're going to get grounded here, get connected to the body, because that's how we'll best connect to our intuition and angels. So as you take some deep breaths, just notice your breath moving in and out of your body. Start to be aware of your body. And as you become more aware of your body, start to move down all the way through until you reach your feet, or whatever is the bottom of your body that's touching the surface below you. And just notice what that surface feels like. Notice what it feels like to feel supported, to feel held. And if it makes sense, continue down past your feet into the floor, into the ground, and all the way into Mother Earth. And that grounding energy, notice what that feels like. Knowing that Mother Earth is here to ground you, protect you throughout this meditation, but also even after that. Feel free to breathe in that energy all the way up through your feet and your legs, all the way up to the top of your head. Just knowing that you are safe in this moment. You are protected, that you are supported. Now I'm going to have you start to wander into a little bit of a magical place where we'll touch base with some angels. So to get there, I want you to imagine that whatever door is closest to you in your home, in your mind's eye, or there's a door that just appears in the space that you're in, I want you to imagine going up to that door and knowing that this is a door that's going to take you into this magical space. And as you open it, you notice that there's a hallway. And that hallway, there's a door at the end of that. So take your time going down that hallway. Again, tuning into those different senses. Do you see the hallway? Do you just kind of know that it's there? Do you feel it? And as you make your way down the hallway to the door, just take a moment to pause right before that door, knowing that when you walk into this room that's behind the door, that's where the archangels are going to meet you. So when you feel ready, open the door and walk into this room, into this space where Archangel Uriel and Gabriel are there waiting for you. Take a moment to check in with your surroundings. Let's tune in. Can you see things in this room? Anything that you notice? Do you hear anything? Do you have a sense of the room? Do you feel it? Does it feel big or small? Does it feel cozy or bright? Does it feel like there's nothing in there? Does it feel like it's full of things? Just get a sense of what this room might be like. And remember, there's no right or wrong. Whatever comes up, try to lean into that. We're going to work with Archangel Uriel first. And so as Uriel comes over to you, he shows you that there's a whiteboard on one of the walls. And on the whiteboard are different words that represent things that are holding you back. Fears, limiting beliefs, patterns, behaviors, experiences, things that are holding you back from living as your most authentic self. And Uriel wants to share those things with you, whether it's through allowing you to see those words written on the whiteboard, whether it's he's saying them out loud to you, and maybe you hear them in your mind's eye, in your head. Maybe they sound like your own thoughts. Maybe you just know what these things are. Maybe you sense them. Maybe you feel them. Just take a moment to see what comes up. What's holding you back? Are they some of the things that we've named? Maybe not feeling good enough, fear of being seen, fear of judgment, thinking that it's not safe to be your authentic self? Or is it something that you're doing, playing it small, hiding away? Now Uriel wants to put that stuff aside for the moment as we move on to the next thing. And so he's just going to erase the whiteboard. And maybe that just is for a moment in time. Maybe that's even after this meditation, but he's just going to erase the whiteboard. Going to take all those fears, those limiting beliefs, those patterns, and put them to the side to allow you to step into your authentic self in the here and now. And so now Gabriel comes over. And Gabriel takes your hand and shows you towards a mirror, a full-length mirror in the room. And again, maybe you see it, maybe you sense it. And Gabriel wants to show you who you really are at your core, your most authentic self, through the eyes of the angels. Unconditional love. So Gabriel really wants you to know what that feels like to see all parts of yourself through only love and acceptance. So notice what that feels like. Is there something that you see in the mirror? Or is it more of a feeling? How does it feel in your body to experience this? Does it feel like freedom? Do you feel that love? Gabriel also wants to show you what your life would be like if you could live like this, if you could feel like this on a day-to-day basis. So through this mirror, or maybe it's something that Gabriel shares with you through words or just through a knowing or feeling, Gabriel wants to share with you, how would your life be different? How would you interact with people? How would you move through the world? How would you feel? And just really take that in. Feeling that all the way through your core, all the way through your body, through your soul. And so now Gabriel and Uriel stand beside you or near you by the mirror and just want to let you know that this unconditional love is always there. And no matter what you think, no matter how you are feeling in the moment, that this is always here. It's always underneath all of the other stuff that we carry. That you are loved for exactly as you are right now, in the future, no matter what happens. And that is the gift that Uriel and Gabriel want to give to you right now. Just that knowing that that is always true. And that it is safe to be your authentic self. So now let's take a moment to thank both of these angels for guiding us through this, for being here, for supporting us. And they want to remind you that you can call them in at any time. Just by thinking about them, calling them to mind, calling out their name, that they'll show up and they'll be here. But for now, we're going to thank them for walking us through this. Take some time to say goodbye. And when you feel ready, start to head towards the door of the room, taking with you this experience that you've had. And when you feel ready, open the door and go back to the hallway. And when you feel ready, you can walk down the hallway back to the door that leads you to the space that you're in now physically. And once you feel ready to open the door to come back to your physical space, please do so. Make your way back into your body. Start to feel into your body again. Maybe do some wiggling of your body if needed. Take some deep breaths. coming back to the here and now. And when you feel ready, you can slowly open your eyes and come back to the space with us. Okay, so I'll give people a couple of minutes to jot down anything that came up if they want to, or to just sit with whatever came up. We'll share in a little bit, if anyone wants to share what came up, but I just want to give you a little bit of time for yourself just to reflect on what came up. Maybe it was all the things that you already knew. Maybe there was something surprising, or maybe there was emotion that came up. And so you're free to do this while your camera's still off, or if you want to come back on camera, you can. Just give you a couple minutes. Okay, feel free to wrap up your thoughts or, to keep jotting down thoughts as they're coming up. But I'd love to hear from people. Like, let's start with, what are some things that were holding you back? What did Uriel share with you, or what did you notice during the meditation of what's been holding you back from living as your authentic self? And feel free to come off mute or put it in the chat. Oh, Barbara, fear of being seen and judgment. Yeah, yeah. What people think of me and judging me. And fear, follow through. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, when I did this, so anytime I come up with like a meditation like this, what I ask is for the angels to walk me through it just one time through and just guide me through and to see where we go. Um, and for me, it was fear of judgment and rejection, not belonging, safety. Let's see, Matt, you said self-confidence. Yeah, lack of self-confidence. Melanie, I have a fear of not being heard and a fear of being discredited. Yeah, yeah, those can be big. All a fear of judgment and not being taken seriously. Yeah, so you'll notice that there's some new ones. Like we named some before the meditation, but there are some new ones coming up, right? So sometimes what we think is holding us back be exactly what is holding us back, and sometimes there are things that we weren't aware of. Lynn, fear of being misunderstood. Yes. And Amber, same thing, feeling misunderstood, not being able to control how people experience me. Yeah, isn't it scary of like that you can't control the narrative of other people, like how they're gonna write your story? I had an angel message. I channel an angel message on my social media every Monday. And there was one recently of like, who is the author of your story? Are you letting other people author your story, or are you authoring your own story? That was the message from the angels. Like, how often do we let other people tell us who we are and author our story? And how much do we try to fight with other people to try to make them see us how we see ourselves, right? Like, we can be in that battle all day. And so that's hard to just know that someone's not understanding who you are. Let's see what other people said. Jessica, fear of others' expectations. And Marlene, judgment, uncomfortable. Yeah, there's a lot of, it sounds like judgment is kind of like one of the number one things here. Jane, letting others write or rewrite your story. Yeah. So being your authentic self is really taking that power back. And I know that's something that Melanie's gonna talk about tomorrow, is that like taking back your power, and being your authentic self is part of that empowerment, and taking back your power and your story and saying, this is who I am, no matter what other people say. This is who I am, this is who I want to be. So what else came up for people? What was it like to see yourself in full unconditional love and acceptance and experience your authentic self? What was that like? Energetic. Yeah, Anna. Empowering, Jane. Yeah, just how we talked about like uh when we're not being our authentic selves, we're wearing all these masks and we're hiding ourselves. It can be draining and exhausting. And so we can feel energized when we're being our authentic selves because we don't have to do all that hiding. The angels have shared with me this idea of like a computer running a software in the background. Have you ever had like a laptop or computer that runs its fan really loudly because there's stuff running in the background and it's exhausted? Like that's what happens when we're running these scripts of who we think we should be and who we think we need to be. It really like drains our energy and our battery. And so being our authentic self and learning to um, kind of work through those fears and the anxiety can really free up that space. So it's almost like getting new hardware space or hard drive space back on your computer. Amber, can you hear my computer right now? I feel no, but sometimes when I run Zoom, it's like my computer's taking off. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what other people put. Amber was so beautiful, so supportive. Oh, I'm glad that that felt really supportive. Yeah. Yeah, Matt felt supported. Yeah. Right? Like when the angels kind of show you your authentic self and give that like unconditional love, like that feeling of like knowing that like they're there to support you all the time. Kathy, I felt like I was embraced by a warm, heavy blanket. It was very comforting. Oh, that's great. Leanne, deep peace. Jessica, emotional. I had tears, but it felt loving, like a big hug. Yes. I remember when I did this, like it was emotional. Um, but yeah, like a big hug. Like anytime we cry or we have tears, like it's such a release, and that is so healing. I don't know if anyone else, like when they start to tear up or cry, they hold back. I know I can do that for sure. Maybe it feels embarrassing or it feels vulnerable or we feel out of control, whatever it is. But um, that is actually a very healing way. And it's also a great way, just scientifically, like that's our nervous system trying to get rebalanced and regulated again. It's one of the tools that it uses. So crying can actually be a great way to help our nervous system out. And Lynn felt like a baby being held by a cosmic mother. Yes, that's a great way to experience that. Melanie, very supportive. Gabriel told me to trust that they will get my message to the people who need to hear it and that I just have to show up. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, that's why I have like my logo is of a lighthouse because I've gotten that message so much working with the angels. This idea that if we are our true selves, that light will shine bright. Other people will be able to find us. Um, we don't have to work so hard to try to find those. They'll see us. Think about like if you're moving through the world and you're being a certain character, people will be drawn to that character. And then what happens is that we feel a disconnect because like, well, people don't really know me because I'm not showing them who I am. And that's something that I experienced. And so as I started to step more into my authentic self, I was like, oh wow, people actually know me now because I'm choosing to share that with them. And now I actually feel like I belong, like I'm not hiding something. Marlene, carefree, happy. Melanie, it's like they'll take care of the haters. Yeah, 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 you're protected. Anna, I cried as well. Yeah, I can be so emotional. Marlene, good to know crying helps. I get so emotional and try to hide tears. Yeah, and Amber saying that was helpful to hear about that. Yeah, there's so many ways that our body tries to regulate shaking, crying, yawning. If you've ever been through something intense and then you feel tired afterwards, sometimes we'll feel energized, sometimes we'll feel exhausted, right? This is just our aware nervous system's trying to regulate, and the angels are totally about that, right? They want us to have a regulated nervous system. And when we have more of a regulated nervous system, again, it's easier to show up as our authentic self. Yeah, Barbara, just let it out. Yeah, let the tears flow. Anything else that people want to share about the meditation or the experience? Or any ways that they like maybe there was a certain Claire that showed up the strongest. Like, did you see things? Did you feel things, know things, sense things? Like, how did it show up for you? Barbara, see and felt. Yeah. Anna, through my hands. And you'll notice that you all gave so many responses. So if any of you are feeling like, am I really intuitive? Can I connect to this? You just did, right? Like if you got something from this, even just one thing, there you go. You're connecting to your intuition. It doesn't have to be this really big thing. Oftentimes people have already done it and didn't even realize it. Amber, I was getting most of the messages clairvoyantly this time. Yeah, so it might change, it might be different depending on the meditation or the space that we're in. And Melanie, I hear, see, feel, and know. Yeah, so a few different ways. So let's talk about kind of like next steps. Like where do you go from here, right? Because it's great when we have these insights, but then we're like, okay, but now what? Like what do I do with that? So there's a few different things. One is I have a freebie for all of you, which is Amber will put it in the chat, and it has Archangel Michael and Archangel Raphael. So two other archangels, and it just goes through the handout, goes through how you can call them in and how you can work with them on a more daily basis in terms of living authentically. So when maybe you need a little extra strength or courage, or to kind of, cut through those fears, Michael's there to show up, and Raphael is very nurturing and healing and there to kind of take care of your heart and show compassion. So that freebie will kind of walk you through these different rituals and ways to include them in continuing this practice of living authentically. Um, Also, on that same link, you'll see an outline or more information about my 6-month group coaching program, Stepping into Your Authentic Self. That'll start sometime early next year. And so if you want to be on the wait list for that to learn more about it or to potentially sign up or to know when registration opens, feel free to sign up through that link that Amber also just put. So that's a great way to go even deeper into that. Or, I offer individual sessions and relational sessions and all that if you want to dive deeper. But what I'll say also is just maybe take some time after this to think about what's one thing that you can do differently moving forward that would just take you just a little bit closer to living out your authentic self. Maybe it's being a little bit more honest about a certain part of yourself that you tend to want to not face. Um, Maybe it's sharing like a hobby or a type of music that you like that you felt embarrassed and you don't want people to know about you. Maybe you share that with people. You think about again, like vulnerability, right? That often goes hand in hand with authentic self. Maybe it's you've always really wanted to wear a certain type of shirt, but you're like, what are people going to think? And then you're just like, no, I'm going to wear it today. I'm going to at least wear it around the house and just like see how it feels to like be in the shirt that I like feel very myself around, but I'm maybe scared to leave the house in. So just think about that one thing that you could do differently that would take you closer to that. See if there's any other things I wanted to add. Oh, yeah, just wanted to also to share with you, Amber, if you wanted to put it in the chat, just a couple of things that are coming up for me in December. If you're interested and want to check out some other events happening, I have a Mindful Holidays workshop because we all know that the holidays bring a mix of all sorts of stuff. If you want a little help, I have a workshop next Monday. And then every month I do a group Akashic record reading. So I give a message to the group, a collective kind of message, and then I spend time doing mini readings with people. It's a very small setting, smaller than this, and I have that going on December 18th. I do that every month. So if you're interested and you want to get a message or just show up in a really like safe space and uh, supportive space, is a great way to spend time with other people going through this process. Let's see, check out the chat. Anna, my writing would be the one thing. Yes. Yes. I think about those creative ways. We're all creative. I know some of you out there might be like, I'm not creative at all. We're all creative in some way. And it doesn't always mean art. It can mean so many different things. And we can hide that. And I truly believe that connecting to our soul, part of that is connecting to our creativity. That when we're not doing something creative, a little bit of our soul kind of is lost, or we're not connected to it. Lynn, thank you, Sam. That was very authentic, supportive, and healing. So good to heal our emotions. Yes, yeah. Thank you for coming. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions or comments that they want to add before we wrap up here? Just appreciate all of you showing up and sharing this space. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I really believe that we all learn from each other and we all heal ourselves when we heal each other. Like, I may be the one that did most of the talking, but I'm definitely not the expert of everything in this room. Like, we all are experts of something. And so it's just really great energy when we all come together and share that. So I appreciate all of you being here. And we have a couple of other great sessions coming up. So if you want to check out some other ones, tomorrow Melanie will be here talking about moving from victimhood to co-creator and breaking free from cycles of control and past trauma. So really talking about empowerment. So it's a great, kind of next step in this journey. And then Matt will be here on Wednesday talking about mood boards and creating a spirit aligned mood board for your brand, right? So like connecting your soul with your brand and who you are on the outside. So again, living your authentic self in different ways. So I hope to see you all in the next couple of days and hope you have a good night.
Thank you, Sam.